Hola, I'm Fibers and welcome to Grimlight. If you're watching this video and you don't know me, I'm one of the creators of the Grimlight community tier list and I'm currently updating it after every new hero in the game. The problem is that the number of responses in the Google form to rate the heroes have dropped considerably, so I have decided to create my own separate tier list on all the different classes to keep updating it after each new hero. In today's video I'm gonna create the tier list for mages, and before I start doing it, I want to make it clear that this tier list will be based on my own experience and opinion after playing Grimlight since day one. So like any other tier list, it won't be 100% accurate, but I'm sure it will be good enough to help new players to figure out which heroes are worth leveling up. I have divided the tier list in 5 different tiers: D, the worst, C, average, B, good, A, pretty good, and S, the best. I want to say that in Grimlight, almost every hero is useful, and that's why I have called the tier C average, because the heroes in that tier are still fine. The only heroes that I don't recommend to level up at all are the heroes in tier D. Let's do it! Starting from the bottom, in D tier, we have Gretel, a 3-star 2-cost fire mage. Remember what I just said, that almost every hero is useful? Well, most of the 4 and 5-star heroes are useful, but the 3-star heroes are not good enough to compete with the higher star heroes. This is due to their low stats, and in some cases they have also missing a passive or traits. Gretel is a mage that doesn't even do damage with her active ability. She doesn't have a passive, and the only interesting thing about her kit is the combination with Hansel. Besides that, Gretel is a really bad character. In C tier we have Aurora, Morgana, Safi and Little March Girl. All of these heroes are fine, but are not incredible. Aurora is a 5-star 4-cost water mage. She is the free 5-star that all of us receive at the beginning of the game. In my opinion, she is not as bad as people say. She does a pretty decent amount of damage with her active ability and passive, and she removes all the buffs of the targets with both abilities. The problem is that the area of effect of both abilities is pretty small, so Aurora will only damage one enemy with both abilities. This is where she ends up doing less damage than most other mages. Morgana is a 4-star 3-cost water mage. As I have mentioned in my review about her, Morgana is a mage that doesn't bright by her own. Her whole kit improved the performance of the rest of the mages in the team, so she is fine, but she doesn't really do that much damage by her own, and the buffs are not that great to make her be in a higher tier. Safi is a 4-star 4-cost water mage. She is like a lower star version of Winter Queen, with less damage and lower area of effect in her active ability, but she's able to freeze the enemies with frost debuff like Winter Queen. She also applies the frost debuff with her basic attacks. Her passive gives a lot of cooldown reduction to the team after every 7 hits. The problem of Safi is that her utility is not that great to pay this 4 cost in every stage. Little Match Girl is a 4-star 3-cost fire mage. She is probably the weakest hero of this tier. Her role is to do damage and inflict burn debuff with her active ability, and that's all. So the problem is that her damage is not high enough and the area of effect is kinda small. In B tier we have Queen of Hearts, Evil Queen, White Rabbit, Mad Hatter and Geppetto. In this tier, all of the characters are good enough to tell you that you can't go wrong with any of them, but they still need to improve a bit more to be in a higher rank. Queen of Hearts is a 5-star 5-cost fire mage. She is the mage with the highest attack and her abilities do a ton of damage in a large area. She just received a buff that makes her do even more damage, charge her active ability even faster and execute enemies with her passive. So why is Queen of Hearts in B tier if she is that good? It's simple, just because her cost 5. It's too difficult to find her a place in the team due to her high cost, that's all. Evil Queen is a 5-star 5-cost dark mage. She has the second highest damage and she probably does the highest damage with her abilities. Another great damage dealer with a large area of effect, but sadly with the same problem as Queen of Hearts. It's really difficult to find a reason to pay her cost. White Rabbit is a 4-star 3-cost water mage. She is way special than the other mages. She doesn't do damage at all, but she is an incredible support with cost 3. She gives energy and reduces the ability cooldowns with her active ability, and she gives attack speed with her passive. Her active skill is so good in so many scenarios. She's a really good character. Mad Hatter is a 4-star 3-cost water mage. He doesn't bright for his damage either. Mad Hatter is here thanks to his active ability, and just because he silences all enemies for 10 seconds. Silence is an incredible effect in Grimlight. It stops the charge of the active ability of all enemies, and they can't even cast their active ability if it's full. This effect is really good in PvP, but is also a really good effect in PvE. Geppetto is a 4-star 4-cost dark mage. He has a really high attack for being a 4-star. Thanks to that, he does a decent amount of damage with his active ability and knocks them into the air. His utility comes with his passive. Geppetto summons 2 puppets with 20% of Geppetto's stats every 3 hits. He can activate his passive 5 times per wave, so he can summon 10 puppets per wave. This is really helpful for the team. In A tier we have Tamamo no Mae and Ozma. These heroes are really good. Tamamo no Mae is a 5-star 4-cost water mage. She is an incredible character. She does a really big amount of damage with her active and passive. She is able to reduce the enemy's magic resistance by 20% with both abilities, and she knocks up and silences the enemies with her active ability. I have already told you how important it is to silence in Grimlight. Tamamo is a stronger version of Mad Hatter by far. She does a really good amount of damage, but thanks to the damage reduction that she applies to the enemies, if you play another mage in your team, your other mage will do even more damage too. She gives plus 5% attack to all water allies. She is great. She is not in the highest tier by very little difference. Ozma is a 5-star 3-cost dark mage. She is in this tier thanks to her utility, not because her damage. Her active ability does some damage and greatly knocks back and stuns the enemies for 2 seconds. As I have just said, her damage is kinda low, but the knockback and the stun helps a lot. She reduces the range and the magic resistance of one enemy every 3 hits, and the incredible trait that makes her be in A tier is that all allies in the same row as Ozma gain silence immunity, an incredible effect for PvP and really good for PvE in a lot of stages where the enemies are able to silence. I have already told you how important it is to be able to silence, so imagine how important it is to make allies be immune to it. Finally, in S tier we have the queen of all mages, Winter Queen. Winter Queen is a 5-star 4-cost water mage. She is without any doubt the best mage of all of them. Her damage is not as high as Tamamo, but her utility has so much value. She is able to freeze the enemies with the frost debuff, as I have mentioned with Safi. She also applies this debuff with her passive, not only with her basic attacks, and all enemies take 10% damage per second when Winter Queen is on the field. She just do damage by existing. With an energy recharge set, she can spam her active ability and freeze the enemies once, twice, again and again, not giving the enemies any chance to do something at all. And that's it for today's video. I hope that I have helped you. Thank you so much for watching, leave a comment, drop a like and consider subscribing if you wanna see more Grimlight content in the future, and see you in the next video. Ciao!